Okay, y'all, so I just stopped with part one. This is part two of my fasting testimony from last week and whatever God's about to use me for in this moment. So y'all just continue to listen. I didn't want the video to be too long. Okay, so y'all, while I was fasting, and let me tell y'all, when I was doing this fast this time, I literally told nobody. I kept my face clean. Nobody in my house knew. Everybody just thought that literally, oh, okay, she's just making her lifestyle changes, getting back on track. Instead of, like, that's all everybody thought was going on. Nobody knew, like, oh, she's fasting. Maybe because nobody really paid attention to me like that to even realize, like, oh, she really ain't even eating the stuff. I think Alicia noticed. Baby girl did notice, but I kept my face clean, and normally I will tell people, like, in the house, so they just kind of know how to move with me and what not to buy, and all of these things. But glory over to God, like, nothing was brought into me, and if it was something that I ran across, I was not tempted. I was able to resist. But during my fast, that was another thing. Like, he didn't use me to do this at all. I did not do one video where I did this. The only thing that I did is he had me go live twice. And on the lives I spoke, but it was nothing like this. On the lives I just talked, and it was just like, I want to say it was God, but he also had me doing things differently. And I said it on the live. If y'all go back and watch it, I'm like, I really don't go live. I've never went on live on YouTube early in the morning. This is the first time that I've ever done that. So he was just showing me different things. I did on TikTok, but never there. Even when I was in the kitchen cooking and I went live, God was utilized in the kitchen while I was cooking. And I remember somebody being in my live and saying, oh my goodness, this is so powerful. So things like that was occurring, but him just waking me up wee hours and saying, pick up the camera and you're going to minister. Like, that didn't happen. But what definitely did happen is I prophesied to so many people. It was insane. Even people that I haven't talked to in a while. People that, like, I don't talk to, period. Like, don't talk to. Like, he had me audio record, which he did this in the past when I first started. Like, audio record myself giving them a message or praying for them. He had me doing that. I would be on the phone just like talking to people on the phone, and then God will push through and just give me a word for them. One of my spiritual mentors always call me when things are rough in my life, and I saw her name pop up when I was in the kitchen. No, I was actually sitting down. And my mind was everywhere, and I was just like, I don't know. God, I don't know where I'm. This is one of those days, and she called, and when I saw her name, I'm like, oh my goodness, what is God about to say? Because she also has the gift for prophesying. She was actually someone who talked me through my calling. God used her as his teacher's assistant, because God is my teacher. God used her as my teacher's assistant. He was one of the people. And I always tell people, don't allow somebody to try to teach you or prophesy to you and do all these things if God has not appointed them to you. Don't do that. So she was one of the people that was appointed to me. And he still uses her for me, where she'll randomly just call me when things are going on. And sometimes, it's been a couple of times where she has literally just said, "You tired yet?" And I'm like, yeah. Because she already knows what's going on. Like, God has already revealed it. Or if I'm about to do something, especially with my relationship, God is having me be really transparent. When we was just figuring out some stuff, she would stop me from my mouth. She would stop me from calling or saying things that didn't need to be said, that God had told me to close my mouth on. She would call me and say, what are you about to do? And I'd be like, what? What are you about? Like, she would literally say, what are you about? Don't you do that. And then she was like, God told me to ask you, what are you about to say? I mean, and I wouldn't be on talk to her about nothing. I wouldn't be on told her anything. Like, God would just, and I would be like, wow, that was amazing. I remember one time I was literally working and I was going to do it, call and say something, and my phone rung and it was her. And she said, what are you going to call and say? And I'm like, what? I'm like, who? She said, you know who? She said, what were you about to call? And she just started prophesying to me and walking me through steps and showing me what language I needed to use. Like showing me, like, yes, things need to be said, but it's a way that we say them, right? So she just randomly called and prophesied to me. But you know what God did? After she got done talking to me, and she probably talked to me for a good, I want to say 20 minutes, about me and just walking me, I wouldn't say walking me through some stuff, but allowing God to use her. She then said, because she even told me let me back up a little bit. She even told me when I was going through this process, and like I told you, a lot of people think that Camila has been this girl. Like, I've been prophesying. I've been walking in my calling for years and years and years. Like, I grew up doing this as a little kid, watching people do it, and all that. No, I literally y'all, started prophesying, doing all these things last year. I realized that I could prophesy last year. Everything else before that, it was like gradual stuff. But last year is literally when I started prophesying. And I didn't know how to handle that. I didn't know if I was trying, like if I wanted something so desperately because I desired it. And which is crazy that I'm saying that, because I didn't even know what it was. I know now that I had an aunt that when I was going through this, learning about this stuff, that passed away, that had this calling on her really, really strongly on my grandmother's side, which my mama's side rather, on my mom's side, her sister. And so the calling was really, really strong on her. And then I knew that I had a cousin on my dad's side that also carried the gift, but I didn't know what it was. I was like, and now I don't believe in this, but then I didn't know. I was like, oh, with my cousin, because she would do it with me when I remember I had brought a man around, and she was like, is he? She just started asking me questions about him because God had showed her stuff. And I was like, oh, is she psychic or something? That's what I was, referencing it to. So I didn't know a lot about it until God started showing me stuff and had me studying stuff and learning more about him. So a lot of people think that I've been doing this for years, and it's like, no. Now it's probably about to mark on a year. It's just that it's always been so deep and rooted in me that once I started accepting it, it was just like, bam, and it was like, almost like God almost said, okay, and now you got your powers. I don't know. Like I activated it. So when God literally had me meet her on Clubhouse, which was another thing that was God, because I had no clue what Clubhouse was. I had never heard of it before in my life. Y'all, I be having these hot flashes. Forgive me. And I feel like God has me doing part 1, part 2, part 3. I don't know. But I had never heard of Clubhouse before, like the little app or whatnot. So how I found out about Clubhouse was literally, like I told you guys, God literally speaks to me through, I say literally a lot. God speaks to me through like YouTube, also through certain people on YouTube, right? And he had me looking at this, it was her, and I always talk to y'all about Bold for Christ. Bold for Christ was one of my tops, and then her name was Scarce. I forgot, Scarce something. He had me also looking at her, and I would watch Scarce, and Scarce, I forgot her name, and I hate that I cannot remember her name, Lord, because I also took coaching sessions from her as well. But he had me watching her, and I forgot what I was gonna say. I just went blank. Oh, he had me watching her, and she just basically was saying, okay, I am going to be doing, I want to just, she was just basically saying, I want to interact with y'all in real time, outside of YouTube videos and things like that, outside of coaching. I just want to interact with y'all, and I want us to I want us to create a little community. So she was like, y'all go to do this app Clubhouse and this, that, and the other. And so I'm like, okay, I ain't never heard of it, but I really like her. Like, she's amazing, blah, blah, blah. So I end up doing the Clubhouse, and did Clubhouse, got on Clubhouse, and that's how I ended up meeting Lioness. Well, that was her name on Clubhouse. And it was immediate connection, like, and give me your number, got number, this, that, and the other. So God just literally used her. I say literally a lot. God used her to just help me actually realize my calling. And if you don't know about Clubhouse, it's like you create these rooms, and people can come in them, and they can talk, and this, that, and the other. And it was whole nother story time, y'all. This whole incident with one of the rooms, a mental health room, because y'all know I'm serious about mental health, always has been, even before I was going through my stuff. Mental health has always been big for me, and I'm a life coach, so yeah. So I went in her room, and me and her connected. So we ended up, like, I ended up kind of being a co-host in her room, like, every day. Through that, met Lioness. Lioness ended up prophesying to me. Now, by this time, I've kind of figured out what prophesying is because of YouTube, because of, like, God had me on TikTok. Like, I wasn't going live on TikTok or nothing like that, but he randomly had me just go on TikTok, like, maybe a few months, I want to say maybe a month or two before I went on Clubhouse. And it was a man that he had me looking at that was prophesying, but God also wanted me to see that he was a phony too. But I didn't know that's what God was showing me. I just know that God was telling me not to give him any money. Like, he wasn't a phony, but he was using it. He was using his calling to collect money from people. Like, if I prophesied to you you got to give me money. And we know that that's not of God. God is not using us for us to receive funds from people. Like, I'm not saying, oh, okay, you're listening to my message now, give me money. Like, no, God is not using us for that. Like, so yeah. And when she prophesied to me, she started talking about all of my many gifts, but I had already did spiritual counseling as well. And my spiritual counseling had told me months before this about my gifts. And I'm in my head, I'm like, okay, I know she's good. I know she's of God, but I think she's just trying to hype my head up. That's what I was thinking. So when Lioness kind of confirmed everything, and she was like, your gift of prophecy is going to be strong, and she was just saying all of these things to me. I'm only going to reveal what God is telling me to reveal, of course. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, when that started happening, and I remember when we finally, she was just giving me my what God was saying to me on Clubhouse with everybody in the room. And then after that, we connected and we talked, and she was just telling me, and I was like, I kept saying, I think he be talking. I don't know though. I was like, because I don't be hearing him. I said, I just be in my head, and I just be wanting to tell people like stuff. And I'm like, but I don't know. I said, so I think that might be me. And she was like, no, it's God. And she was just like, God wants you to say something to me right now. Like, what is he telling you? And I was like, I don't know. And then I said, I know. I said, but I don't want to say nothing because I don't want to be wrong. Like, I don't want you to think I'm just making up stuff. And so I just started telling her stuff about her, but I didn't know her. And she was like, yeah, she said, you're really right. She said, everything is right. And she was like, your calling is really, really powerful. It's strong. And she said, believe in yourself and walk in it. Walk in it. And she said, God is about to start using you drastically. So prepare yourself. Build your relationship with him. You have to be able to walk in your calling, and he wants you to be bold. He's using you because of your boldness, and he wants you to be bold for him. And remind y'all, I kept telling y'all, like, he had me, literally just had me watching Bold for Christ on YouTube, and I had no idea about anything about this woman, nothing like that. But her name was Bold for Christ. And she said, God wants you to be bold for him. Glocked it. So when she called me, I just wanted to give y'all a little history of her and I. And we ain't quote unquote like talking on the phone every day friends. And she literally let me know that too. She said, girl, you better be glad I'm obedient to God. And this was like when God first started using her. She was like, you better be glad I'm obedient to God. She said, because I don't do this. I don't sit on the phone with women and talk. She was like, because that's how stuff gets so messy. She said, I'm not even a phone girl. Like, I don't like being on the phone, but God would have us on the phone for like an hour and a half. And then she also had a Bible study. He had me attending her Bible study, like all of these things, like to strengthen me in him through her. And that's why I tell people, if God has not assigned people to you, don't let them assign themselves to you. So she prophesied to me, and then God had me prophesy to her. And it was a very powerful prophecy. What I said to her was powerful, but when she was talking to me, God had already revealed it to me. And again, in my head, like I had almost went back to that place where it was like I was doubting my calling. And I think I was doubting it because the information, which I'm not going to talk about at this time because God is not releasing me to, but the information that he gave was not positive information. And I was like, no, I don't think that's true. Maybe that's just me in my head. So, but when she asked me, what she said, now tell me what you're getting from me, that's how she does to see if I'm really like, are you working? Like, she plays no games. And I would tell people all the time because people was like, she's so serious. I'm like, she's not for everybody. I said, but I know God assigned her to me, because I need somebody like that. Like, I ain't gonna do what I need to, like, I'm gonna give you pushback. So if you ain't somebody who gonna be like, girl, what I'm not about to do is go back and forth with you, I'm gonna give you pushback, and I'm gonna keep giving you pushback, because I'm just that girl. God knows that. That's why he said be bold for him, just as bold as I am with everything else. So she's also somebody, her name is Lioness. Like, that was her name on Clubhouse, because she carries that same boldness, right? So and God, literally everyone that he's had be his co-teacher with me, they bold. I'm gonna get to telling y'all these stories, like they gonna come out, but they're bold. So I told her about what was going on in her life, and she broke down. I was absolutely right about everything. And she literally went out of, I'm in operation working of God with God, working for God for you, to you're working with God for me. And God was just telling me what to say and how to say it. But he literally had me doing for her what she had been doing for me in that moment. And she accepted it because she knew she knows who I am at the end of the day. And she knew that I wasn't operating of Camila. And all of this just happened. And that was one incident that happened while I was doing my week fast, where he had me prophesy to someone. I'm going to stop right there, and we're going to do part 3, because we ain't going no long time. So we're going to do part 3. We did 1. This is 2. Now let's do 3.